We're now honored to be joined by Ivanka Trump, the daughter of Donald Trump. Ivanka, thank you so much for joining us here on Breitbart News Daily.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning. So I just dialed in and I heard 2 minutes of your last interview. I wasn't sure who you were talking with, but I think that's a perfect example of a naysayer who claims, who has very strong opinions in the absence of fact. So he had not been on the site. He had not read my father's policy positions, yet he was convinced he didn't have them. So it was sort of an interesting and amusing thing for me to listen to.
Well, we have, one of the things about the show is that we're taking people that are Cruz supporters and are Trump supporters, and you've got, it's great because these are very, very passionate people on both sides. And obviously, whoever wins this primary tonight, whoever goes forward and wins, has to put a coalition together of these people. Yeah. One of the things about your father, it's inspired so many people, and with so many of the callers, even the people that are Cruz supporters or Carson supporters, is the fact that he's at least out there putting forward policy positions that have driven the conversation to talk about things that really the country is most concerned about, like trade and immigration. But growing up, what was it about him as a father? What can you tell people that they don't know about him, the character of the individual? Because so many people, Ivanka, are saying, "Hey, look, I like what this guy says. He's hitting me in the heart. However, I'm afraid that this guy may be another Caesar. I'm afraid that this guy does not want to run by the Constitution." So I think it's most important now that people start to understand the character of this individual. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and that's something, obviously, I'm well equipped to speak to, obviously being his child, but also working alongside of him at the Trump Organization for the last decade. So I've seen him in the capacity, obviously, as a father, and a very loving one, and also as an incredible executive who built an amazing company. And he really is remarkable. Ultimately, I think the testament to any person is their track record. And that's not just their professional track record, of which his is well known. He is enormously accomplished. He's employed tens of thousands of people. He's achieved success in multiple industries at the highest level. I mean, to do what he's done in just one industry would be incredible in New York development, never mind global development, never mind hospitality and golf, to translate that into entertainment via books and hit TV shows and the list goes on and on. So, his professional accomplishments are nothing short of remarkable. But obviously as a daughter, knowing the father he was to me, and especially now I'm pregnant with my third child. I'm 8.5 months pregnant, and I have 2 little toddlers at home. Probably shouldn't be in New Hampshire right now. I think my doctor may now hear about it in light of calling into this radio. But I think that part of why I'm so enthusiastic is also being a parent now myself. I, for the first time, recognize just how hard it is to be a great father, a great mother. And to really give your kids the right moral compass, especially kids who grow up with a lot of privilege. It's very
well. You said in your book, you said in your book, The Trump Card, that the 2 things that your parents gave you were confidence and perseverance. Can you talk to us about that? How did they instill that in you, and how's that help you today, particularly in things like the campaign trail? When you're 8.5 months pregnant, we saw you out in Iowa, and we saw you. You've obviously been on the hustings up here.
Yeah, well, I think, my father's always been very clear about a couple of things as it pertained to sort of us and trying to sort of give us the incentive we needed to be successful in life. And, one of the things he'd always say to us is you have to do what it is that you're passionate about. If you want to achieve success at that high level, you have to be passionate about it, because if you're not, you won't put in the work. And then it comes down to perseverance. So without grit, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good your idea is. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. You're just going to get outworked. And my whole life, he is a worker. He is relentless. If it's one complaint I had to him, it's Dad, relax. But, even my earliest memories are, my bonding experiences with him. My brothers were coming to his office and playing on the floor with our toys while he was in major meetings. So sort of learning through osmosis, and he always included us in his world in that regard. But that's really the story of my father. He's a hard worker. He believes that obviously. So the culmination of that work. Here's what I think a lot of people don't understand. With one of the wealthiest men in the world,
obviously a loving family. You guys are very happy. You can tell with each other in your business. You've got all this going. You got TV shows. You got great hotels. You've got all this going on. You're building your own brand. Why would you today? We're going to have a story up here. One of the radio guys, whatever, personally going after your mother, personally going after your stepmother. The personal attacks are going to start. Why would a family that has accumulated so much wealth and has done such a great job and are continuing to build additional brands, seem to have everything going for it, why would you put yourself through this ringer that is the modern political world, where it is all about the politics of personal destruction? Why would you do that?
It's a great question. A lot of people who run for elected office are looking for a platform, and it's the next step in a political career. So they don't have that much to lose. It gives them national awareness. My father had that. He has an amazing life, and he's built an incredible company. And really, he's doing this for the reasons he's articulated. I mean, he can't stand back and watch what's happening to this country anymore. And he's been saying this for a long time, and he's been seeing it happen. And so what he's doing is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly selfless. It takes a lot to want to enter this arena, and it is definitely a blood sport as we're seeing. But win, lose, or draw, he's got a family who loves him, who's incredibly proud of him. The energy and the passion that he's elicited. You were talking in the beginning about sort of leadership and his viewpoint on different issues. From day one, my father set the agenda for what the whole party is talking about, and really politics in general across parties.
You mean drove the national conversation, something the nation did not want to talk about. The corporate media interest did not want to talk about immigration. They did not want to talk about trade.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what you want a leader to do. So, all the other candidates would sit back silently for around 3 weeks until they realized that the voters agreed, and then they'd come forth with their positions,
Okay, let me talk about leadership before you go. And I realize you're the apple of your father's eye, so to take this question as it is. But if your father is to continue on and win the nomination and then to go on against the Democrats and win, he'll fall in the line of a tradition of people like General Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, General Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, FDR, John Kennedy. Last night at this rally, when you have this woman call up or something like that, and your father either reiterated or let her use this vulgarity, and people understand the style, but for people that, particularly working class people in this kind of populist movement, this nationalist movement that he seems to be embodying, when they see that, and they see the traditions of the presidency and somebody would be the commander in chief, how do you balance that when people say, hey, look, that kind of locker room language or locker room humor may be appropriate at certain times, but you want to be in the lineage of FDR. You want to be in the lineage of Abraham Lincoln. You want to be in of Teddy Roosevelt, General Jackson, General Washington. How do you balance that?
Well, I balance it through knowing who my father is. I mean, I've sat by his side in incredibly consequential meetings for decades, and he always knows how to get it done, and he knows how to act, and he knows how to act in accordance with the environment he's in. Last night was a lot of fun. People were incredibly energized and super engaged, but there's a different spirit in that kind of room than certainly in a boardroom or a conference room. So my father's doing something that nobody's ever done before, and it's time for this country. I think what America cares about, and I think that's why they're so excited about his candidacy, is they want competence. They don't want somebody who is slick-tongued and says all the right things and then gets to Washington and does absolutely nothing. My father's life has been about execution. He wouldn't be the man he is if it wasn't for execution. Nobody would know who he was. So, for our focus and my focus and what I have so much conviction is, not only is he an unbelievable person, an unbelievable man. He's been a great mentor to me, both personally and professionally, as I was telling you before, but he's incredibly capable. And I wouldn't, I'm a citizen as well. I wouldn't have the conviction I do, even as a loving daughter, if that wasn't true. I mean, the stakes are very high for this country right now.
Well, that's what, let me ask you, because I've noticed notice is we had your brother Don on yesterday down at the Red Air Diner. Your brother Eric's coming in today. For the family, you guys, I just want the nation to know this. You guys are all in on this, right? You guys have thrown in all in on this. You're going for a victory. You're going to win this thing and to get to the White House and then help turn the country around. You guys, there's no holding back. The Trump family is all in on this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way my father knows how to be. So, my focus and my brothers, we're running our business now, but, as his children, we're right there with him. So we're very excited. As family members, it's more complicated. Politics is a rough game. As citizens, he would be amazing for this country.
Ivanka Trump is the daughter of Donald Trump, who's running for the Republican nomination. They're in New Hampshire. Tonight is the first in the nation primary, live free or die. Ivanka, thank you so much for taking it. I know you guys are incredibly busy. Thank you so much for taking time away to join us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. And thank you to all the listeners.